Okay, could the speakers please start taking your seats at the head table, please? You should have seen your name tags by now, so know where you're seating. ¿Tú estás aquí? Bueno. Okay, as usual, I'd like to start off by thanking everybody who's managed to turn up today. I know the notice hasn't been fantastic for today's event, and the weather hasn't been the best either, but it's something that most of us will be used to coming from the UK. So hope it hasn't ruined the day for you. Anyway, I'd like to also thank everybody on the panel who's joined us. We've got representation from San Roque Council, which is Carlos Jordan. Carlos Biox wasn't able to turn up at the last moment again, so he sent Carlos in his stead. We've got José Carrasco, who is the mayor of Casares. We have Mario Jiménez, who is the mayor of Manilva. We have Laura Lopez, whose event it is today, and who is the new councillor for foreign residents. Myself, and I'd like to give a big welcome and hope that you'll give him an applause to our brand new British ambassador to Spain, Mr. Hugh Elliott. Following on, we have Derek Langley, who's been in previous seminars, who is the regional vice President of the British Chamber of Commerce for Andalusia. We have Alex Radford, who's also a member of that same chamber, and is the director of My Lawyer Spain. Then we have Joni Burnett, who is representing the illustrious College of Administrators in Malaga, obviously because not all British expats live within communities managed by administration companies. And then we have Marina, who is representing Olabank Caixa, who are main sponsors along with the Ayuntamiento de Manilva today. I'm going to move swiftly along and let Carlos introduce himself first, representing San Roque, but I'll also say that Carlos has offered, as he does in most of these seminars, to be the translator for the Mayor of Casares, Mayor of Manilva, and for Laura, who does speak some English, but she would like, so the message does get across to you, and without any breaks, he'll be translating for her also. One more thing, if anybody is interested, so I've got to pick my phone up because I can't remember all of this. At any point, when it comes to questions and answers, and would like to speak privately as opposed to posing a question to the panel, to either Sarah Owen, who is sat over there on the end bench. She is in charge for the Exit Policy and Communications Advisor for the Department of Health and Social Care based in the Embassy in Madrid, and she'll be happy to answer any of your specific questions. Then we have Susan Davenport with a Z, who's the Brexit Support Officer for the British Consulate based in Malaga, and who will also be answering questions about for residency, driving licences and passport validities, and other possible subjects that might be of interest to you. You'll have noticed on each chair as well, the consulate has provided a survey form and hopefully a pen as well. We sort of run out, so if you haven't got a pen, there'll be one on the chair next to you. And if you wouldn't mind filling in those survey forms, it does help the British government get a real opinion and understanding of where our feelings or thoughts are at this time. Okay, so that will be Susan and Sarah. We also have present Charmaine, our British consul for Andalusia, Canary Islands and Balearics, and also who's come along and joined us today, somebody that's pretty well known for having been fighting the corner of Brits on the Costa del Sol and the rest of Spain and Isles, Anne Hernandez, who will also answer any questions when it comes to questions and answers time if you have one for her. Anyway, Carlos Jordan, would you like to kick off your presentation, please? Thank you.
Right, good afternoon to you all. I'm Carlos Jordan. I'm the head of tourism in San Roque Borough Council, and I also run the foreign residence office there. Obviously our area encompasses Soto Grande and other villages, so feel free to contact me if you need anything at all, whether it's to do with the tourist board or with any issue to do with red tape, particularly with the local authorities. As a Brit myself, obviously I know what we're going through with all of this. This is a bit like Coronation Street. It's been running for a long time. And I'm sure we'll get a little bit more of insight from the ambassador and from the consul in a bit. But anyway, we're glad to to reach out to you. And if you're from our area, obviously, come and have a chat afterwards if you fancy. Let's hope this is, a productive evening for everyone. Thank you.
And now, José Carrasco, the mayor from Casares, will say a few words.
Gracias, Dean. Buenas tardes. Yo daré la bienvenida al embajador a la comarca esta nuestra. Agradecer al Ayuntamiento de Manilva la invitación que nos ha hecho al Ayuntamiento de Casares y se puede extender que la idea es pues que asistan los vecinos, la colonia tan importante de Gran Bretaña que tenemos en nuestro municipio, igual que en Manilva, en otros municipios, sabiendo que es el primer país con más habitantes en la comarca de la Costa del Sol. Y nosotros, siempre mostrar mi disposición desde el Ayuntamiento y en cualquier momento, bueno, a prestar la ayuda que podamos tener o que podamos ejercer desde una institución. Me imagino que ahora mismo hay incertidumbre, pero a lo largo de estos días quizás se vaya despejando, porque ya sabemos que hay nuevas elecciones y yo lo único que espero y que deseo es que sea cierto y que sea un bien para todos lo que decidan los británicos. Por lo tanto, una vez más, pues la disposición del Ayuntamiento de Casares para todos aquellos vecinos que compartí estancias con nosotros en el pueblo, como digo, de Casares. Gracias y buenas tardes.
Right, I'll just go on with the translation a second. The Mayor of Casares would like to welcome the ambassador and to thank Manilva Town Hall for inviting him. Like all the other councils, right, all the other boroughs around here, the borough of Casares has a large group of British expats. And they're the main group around here, as you all know. He is, on behalf of Casares Council, would like to point out that they're at your disposal for anything you need, and that with the new elections coming up, with the UK elections, that hopefully everything will be cleared up, and this uncertainty we have right now will be clarified. Thank you.
Gracias. Gracias.
And now Mario Jiménez, the Mayor from Manilva.
Buenas tardes y bienvenidos, y quisiera dar la bienvenida también al señor Hugh Elliott por acompañarnos y a todos los integrantes de la mesa por prestarse a colaborar. El Ayuntamiento de Manilva pone en marcha estos 5º seminarios sobre el Brexit. La verdad que solo tengo palabras me gustaría de corazón que se rompiera esta incertidumbre de una vez por todas. Es imposible estar tanto tiempo, son 5 años, con una incertidumbre total, residentes y gente que vienen de vacaciones, y sobre todo la comarca que estamos aquí con Gibraltar tan cerca, la incertidumbre tan grande que tenéis. Espero y deseo, como ha dicho José Carrasco, que en estas próximas elecciones que hay en Gran Bretaña se despeje todas estas dudas, y lo que tenga que ser será, pero no puede ser tanto tiempo, tantas habladurías, tantas cosas y sin un mensaje claro. Creo que es un fracaso de la política lo que está pasando, igual que en otras cuestiones aquí en España, pero creo que es un fracaso de la política y lo pagan los ciudadanos. De modo que mucho ánimo, que tenéis todo el apoyo del Gobierno de Manilva, que para mí todos los vecinos y vecinas que residéis aquí lo considero como lo que sois, vecinos de Manilva, y vais a tener todo el apoyo dentro de las posibilidades, pero ya os digo que de corazón quiero que acabe ya, porque la incertidumbre que tenéis en vuestras vidas no es normal.
Right, well, basically the Mayor of Manilva would like to thank you all for coming, and particularly the Ambassador for his attendance today, and basically all the panel members who have joined in today. This is the 5th edition of the seminar, and as you all know, it's been going on for too long, the 5 years of this mess. And he has pointed out that it's not just expats, it's holiday makers, it's people that work in JIB that are suffering the consequences, normal people, due to a failure, in this case, of politics. It's a political thing, and just like what's happening in Spain as well, with so much uncertainty. And, well, hopefully everything will be cleared up in the coming months. Thank you.
And now Laura Lopez Collado, your foreign resident councillor for Manilva, and who is the person in charge of allowing us to do this event today.
Buenas tardes a todos. Muchas gracias por acudir al 5º seminario sobre el Brexit. Soy Laura López, para los que no me conozcan, soy la nueva concejala de extranjeros residentes del Ayuntamiento de Manilva, y es para mí un honor contar con la presencia de todos los ponentes que han tenido a bien acudir hoy a este seminario. En especial quiero agradecerle al embajador británico en España, Hugh Elliot, por haber elegido nuestro municipio como el lugar para tener lugar este encuentro. Desde la Delegación de Extranjeros me gustaría destacar que seguimos trabajando para ayudar a todos los que lo requieran a la realización de trámites como son el empadronamiento en nuestro municipio o la obtención del certificado de residente. Espero que este acto contribuya a despejar dudas y a inspirar un poquito de confianza y tranquilidad a todos aquellos que se vean afectados o estén interesados en este asunto. De verdad, sois muy importantes para nosotros y queremos que os sintáis como en vuestra propia casa. Muchas gracias.
Right. The new councillor for foreign residents, in this case is Laura Lopez, as she's mentioned, and she'd like to thank everyone for coming today, and in particular the ambassador and all the panel members. This is the 5th time that we've had this seminar. And the Foreign Residence Department at Manilva Council trying to do their little bit to make life easier for you all, but particularly with bureaucratic procedures like registering on the census or getting your residency sorted out with the Spanish authorities, and basically they're going to keep on working hard to make life a bit easier for us all. But she wants to point out, to highlight that you're all very important for the local authority, and to count on them for anything you need.
Okay, if If you'd like to give a round of applause to our political representatives. I think it's very important that you all know and that they're present today. We also have other members of local government here, and it's just really to show you that they have solidarity with any situation or any final outcome of Brexit, that they want to be here and show their support today. So that's why I feel they deserve the applause, and thanks for allowing us to carry on doing these informative events. Anyway, to the main dish. I'd like to present Mr. Hugh Elliott, our ambassador to Spain. Hugh.
Thanks very much, Dean. Thank you. That's the first time I've been introduced in that way. Not quite sure what to make of it, but thank you. Appreciate that. Y muchísimas gracias también a las autoridades, señores alcaldes. Lo que yo veo es que hay una colaboración fantástica entre nuestros servicios consulares y las autoridades de aquí en la zona, y lo apreciamos desde mi gobierno, lo apreciamos muchísimo. Gracias. I was just saying I really appreciate the very, very close collaboration there is between the local authorities and ourselves, our consular services. Charmaine is here. And can you hear me now? That's a bit better. Okay, well I hope you enjoyed that introduction. I was saying thank you, and thank you very much for a very warm welcome, figuratively and not literally, because when people say I'm coming down to the Costa del Sol on a visit, they say, oh, lucky you, take your sun cream and so on. So, well, anyway, but it is really nice, really nice to be here, and I think actually that the most important thing is you'll have questions, and to be able to answer your questions. So I'm not going to give you a long spiel, but I will just say a few words. I know some other people have got some things to say, but then I'm absolutely here to answer your questions, and that's the main thing. I much prefer to have a conversation than to have long speeches. Now we're in an electoral period now, and that puts some limits, it circumscribes what any civil servant can say. I can't speculate on the election outcome, so it does slightly constrain me, but even given that, I was really keen to come down here and to go ahead with this visit and this event, because it is the core business of our government, and during the election period, during the PERDA period, we are specifically enjoined as civil servants to continue the essential business of government and keeping you informed as best we possibly can, and answering your questions we regard to be the essential business of government. We've made a big effort to try to do that over recent years, well before my arrival in my job 3 months ago. But please rest assured that in my time here as well, we will continue to do our very, very best to keep you informed and to answer questions. Now, in terms of the elections, clearly, I mean, it's stating the obvious. Anybody who looked at the debate last night will know the elections that take place in the UK on the 12th of December will be very important for determining the way the country goes on Brexit. What I can talk about is the position of the current government, and I will just say a few words about that. Obviously, the election will take place and we will see where things are on the 13th, but I can speak on regarding the position of the current government. And I think since the last event that you held here, if I'm right, the government negotiated a revision to the withdrawal agreement with the EU, which included changes to the Northern Ireland Protocol, which I can go into if you're interested. But I would just, and it changed obviously the date of our departure changed and was moved back to the 31st of January. In the event that agreement is ratified by the UK and European parliaments. And it would be, the government has said that if it is successful in the elections, it would be its intention to ratify the agreement rapidly so that we leave on the 31st of January. That I should say as well that there was no change to the provisions regarding citizens' rights in that renegotiation. So all the citizens' rights chapter and all the information that we have previously provided about the withdrawal agreement and the deal scenario remains accurate. In other words, there will be a transition period until at least the end of 2020, during which rights remain the same for citizens, and the rules regarding if you are living in Spain before the end of the transition period and have residency in Spain, then your rights as a resident remain fully protected. We can go into some of the detail of that in question and answer if you like. But that's just to say that we have, in that scenario, we have withdrawal agreement, we have a transition period, we have no change to the provisions on citizens' rights, just to be clear about that. From our point of view, we will continue to try to keep you up to date as events develop as quickly as we possibly can. We will continue all our communication and we're trying to continually to refine that to make it better and to answer your questions as quickly and as effectively as we can. Charmaine and her team are doing a fantastic job down here on that. It is, as I say, core business for us in the embassy. I have had quite a number of meetings with a range of different groups representing bits in Spain since my time here. I will continue to do that. My door is always open to that, and I regard that as a vital part of my job. The one thing to do, I mean, I think most of the people here will already be registered, but not everybody is by any means. I gather there are over 75,000 Brits in Andalusia, so we continue to say and will continue. Please register, and please, as the banner says at the back there, sign up for updates on our Living In guides, because that's where we will continue to put the very most up-to-date information. I'm going to stop there, partly because of other people to talk, partly to leave time for your questions, and partly because my voice is a little bit weak this evening, for which my apologies. But anyway, I'll be very happy to answer questions later. Thank you.
And now we pass the word over to Derek Langley, the Regional Vice President for the British Chamber of Commerce in Spain. Thank you, Hugh.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, and thank you to Manilva Town Hall and everybody for organising this event today. Thank you very much, and to my fellow speakers. My name's Derek Langley. I'm the Regional Vice President for the British Chamber of Commerce here in Andalusia. And the Chamber of Commerce, which some of you may or may not know, was established in Spain in 1908. So we're not a new organisation. We have 3 offices in Spain, one in Andalusia, one in Madrid, and one in Barcelona. It's our pleasure to support this event this evening. Manilva Town Hall is actually a member of the Chamber. They're a corporate member of the Chamber and have been for some years now. And obviously we work together with our members whenever we can. The British Chamber of Commerce itself is there to represent its members' interests. It's fair to say that during the referendum, some 97.4% of Chamber members voted to remain. And this probably is understandable because most of those are businesses. And at the end of the day, Brexit within the Chamber has caused us quite a lot of work. We have been very vocal and very active in assisting UK nationals in Spain with the consulate, with the embassy and with everybody else. The British Chamber is normally the first port of call for companies coming into Spain, and I'm pleased to say that over the last few years our relationship with the embassy in Madrid and the UK is extremely close, as our relationship with the British Consul in Malaga and also the Department of International Trade. And we all work together, including the British Council, to help assist and provide a network for our members. The Chamber has over 300 members in Spain. These are the largest Spanish, British and foreign companies. It's an A to Z of companies. And in different regions we have different sizes. We have corporate companies in Madrid, we have small and medium-sized enterprises in Barcelona and down in Andalusia as well, going right the way down to autonomos and one-man bands. But the opportunity to do business and work together is very, very important. All of these people that are working in these foreign companies and British companies are individuals, so they all have the same problems as you. Nevertheless, we represent the business. The Chamber is a very powerful marketing tool for our members. We have a very, very powerful and successful website, and we use social media as much as we can. So this basically works, it helps us, and our membership grows because of that. The Chamber itself puts on some 70 events a year across Spain. We put on one event a month down here in Andalusia as well, so we're quite, quite busy here. Our membership here runs from town halls in Malaga, Manilva, to hospitals, to educational establishments, to lawyers. A whole cross-section of members of the community are members of the Chamber here. One of the important things is that the Chamber and the Embassy, and certainly our relationship with the UK, is extremely strong. We have obviously the British Chamber in Spain, and we also have the British Chamber as represented in the UK as well. So it's this bridge and this network which helps. So foreigners, English people coming into Spain can always work with the Chamber if they're looking for business opportunities, and hopefully join later on if they can. So at the end of the day, we're here to help, we're here to assist, and I'm sure this evening all of the questions will be answered. Thank you very much.
We're gaining a lot of time. That means there's going to be plenty of time for wine at the end, or questions if you like. Moving along to Alex Radford from My Lawyer Spain. Thank you, Derek.
Okay. Buenas tardes. Muchas gracias, Carlos, Mario, José, Laura, Dean, por organizar el evento. No me puedo creer que es el quinto evento, ¿eh? En 3 años, vamos. O sea, enhorabuena y muchas gracias por vuestro apoyo. So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I was just thanking basically Dean, Laura, Mario, Jose and Carlos for again hosting us. It was only 2 years ago that we were here, and there was another election at the time, and Theresa May was standing as Prime Minister. And all the polls then were saying that it looked like she was going to romp away, gain a massive majority, and Brexit would be done and dusted. You know, get Brexit done was what she was saying then, and here we are 2 years later. Hugh, still hasn't happened. And I know it's not your fault, I'm just looking at you. Yeah. So basically, you know, I'm an English solicitor and a Spanish lawyer. I've lived in Spain for 28 years. You know, I voted in the referendum, and then unfortunately, because I came back to Spain in 2003, and more than 15 years have elapsed, I've lost my right to vote. Consecutive governments of different colours have stated that they would change that rule, that we'd be able to vote for life. That hasn't happened yet. I do hope that in the election, and once Brexit does get done, one way or another, that hopefully that 15-year rule will be reversed. My opinion is that if you have a British passport, you should be able to vote for life, because at any time we could move back to the UK and we'd resume our UK residency and we'll be able to vote. That's something that we've been campaigning for quite some time, and I hope that, you know, be very grateful you could take that message back. It would be interesting to see how many people are here in the room tonight who've also lost the right to vote. So there's quite a few of you been out of the UK for more than 15 years and can no longer vote. I did have the pleasure of voting in the local elections and the European elections, but cannot vote in the national elections. So basically, we had Boris Johnson's got his withdrawal agreement agreed at first and second stage of parliamentary time, and then he decided that because it looked like it was going to be scrutinised and the agreement was going to be changed, that's when he called an election. He has obviously filtered out quite a few of the candidates of the Conservative Party, so that all candidates that are standing now, if they get elected, they will be supporting his withdrawal agreement, and they're standing on that platform, which didn't happen last time. So the election, the general election, is really quite decisive, because if you vote one way, then we're certain to see a government which is bent on, will have the mandate, if the Conservatives win, to deliver Brexit. And if they don't obtain a majority, then I really do think we will be back to a lot of uncertainty, and we won't know which way the country will be going for some time, because the opposition is fairly divided, in that we've got a Remain faction within the Liberal Democrats are stating that they will basically, if they get the mandate, they will cancel the referendum result, and if Labour win, then they're talking about renegotiating the withdrawal agreement and then putting that to the country. So it's a very, I think it's probably one of the most interesting elections that we'll witness, and it will be quite decisive. And let's wait and see what happens on the night of the 12th. What have we been doing in the office? So basically, in the last 3 years, we've been very busy acting for clients across the country, applying for residency. So if you spend more than 3 months a year in Spain, that doesn't have to be consecutive. We're helping people obtain their residency. And if you spend more than 6 months in Spain, we're helping people obtain their residency. And then the year afterwards, after you've arrived and become a resident, that's when you put in your Spanish tax return. And we've been helping clients with that. Also, we've been helping people change their Spanish driving license, their English driving license or UK driving licenses over to a Spanish driving license. And if you, and then also talking to people about basically if they're going back to the UK to drive, they may require an international license when they go back. So that's been really keeping us busy. We've been in touch with Charmaine and the consul, and they've been very helpful, because basically what we find with Spain and across all the different organisations, police stations and town halls, is there's a lot of inconsistency. So basically, one town hall or police station might ask for a certain document that another town hall doesn't request. So we're seeing quite a bit of inconsistency, but basically and bureaucracy. But if you do spend more than 3 months a year in Spain, then you should definitely become a resident. And why not? That's absolutely right. And more than 6 months a year, then you become a Spanish tax resident. Spain, in my opinion, have bent over backwards for the British people. I think we've seen that again tonight with 3 town halls represented, and I think they're doing a fantastic job in basically they've approved a royal decree which sets out the rules and regulations that British people will have during the transition period up until the 31st of December 2020. In effect, the rights that we currently enjoy, we will continue to enjoy. And it's a little bit disappointing that in the debate last night, it was said that basically that if the Conservatives got in, that the transition period wouldn't be extended, because if you remember, the transition period was put in place basically early this year, when we were expected to leave the EU in March, and we had a transition period until basically nearly 18 months until December. That is now not the case, and if we do leave on the 31st of January, then the transition period will only go until the end of December 2020. So quite a short period within which for the UK to negotiate trade deals. Remember Brexit, we've got the withdrawal agreement, which is like the divorce agreement, and then we've got the agreement that's going to govern our continued relationship with the EU, and that's a whole other ball game. And if you've had enough of Brexit so far, we've got many years of this to come. Some of my friends are calling themselves bored of Brexit, but it is what it is, and we've just got to deal with it. What do you think will change? There's a lot of concern in the British community about possible visas, possible healthcare, pension not going up, and I'm certain those will be questions that Hugh will be happy to answer from the kind of legal and tax point of view. Basically, if you own a property in Spain and you're not a resident and you pay what's known as non-residence income tax at the moment, currently the rate is 19%. If we leave without a deal and that point is not covered, then we'll be treated, for example, as Americans, and the tax rate will be 24%, and we won't have as many deductions. What won't change will be Regulation 650. What does that mean? Well, basically, Regulation 650 means that if you want a Spanish will, then you can choose for English law to apply to the distribution of your assets. Regulation 650 is actually a regulation that we, the UK, never signed up to, so we can't be excluded from it. Basically, when you go along to a notary and sign a Spanish will, you can choose English law to apply, and that means you can choose how you want your assets to be distributed. Under Spanish law, you have to give 2/3 of your assets to your children. Under English law, you can leave your assets to whoever you want. So that in my opinion, won't change. Inheritance tax allowances in Spain have been increased with the new government in Andalusia. That went the personal allowance for family members to inherit was increased this year to €1 million, and then in April that again was increased by a further 99%. So inheritance tax in Spain, in Andalusia, for direct relatives has virtually disappeared. That may change with the new Spanish government in Madrid, but generally, my advice to anyone who lives in Spain, if you're in Spain for more than 3 months, obtain your Spanish residency. If you've got Spanish assets, have a Spanish will. If you are here and most of your family's back at home and you're here on your own, then I would certainly recommend that you have a power of attorney to each other, similar to an enduring power of attorney. So I was talking to someone today, they sadly had to move back to the UK, husband's suffering from Alzheimer's, and she hasn't got an enduring power of attorney. She wants to sell the property in Spain, but she's going to have to apply to become a guardian in the UK. A power of attorney would have helped her mitigate that issue, and we'd been able to sell the property much more quickly. It's very important if you're living in Spain and your relatives are back at home that you share the information of basically have a conversation with them about what happens upon death. Unfortunately, my father's been ill recently, and I didn't realise his state of affairs. And it's only when someone's ill and you need to deal with some of those issues that you realise that you really should have a conversation before they fell ill. So if anyone's going to hospital, I certainly recommend you sit down, talk to your family, talk to them about your financial affairs, and put those in order. How many bank accounts have we got? Do you need all of them? And if you're not using them, then close them. Just basically put your affairs in order. If you're living in sin, congratulations. That basically means that you, in Spain, according to Spanish law, if you are living in sin and you've got joint assets, when you pass on and you wanted to leave those assets to your partner, if it's an unmarried partner, then Spanish tax laws unfortunately penalise those surviving partners. So if you're living in sin, I strongly recommend that you consider getting married. We've given this advice quite happily over many years, and people have come back to us. People have come back to us and actually have got married as a result of it. They've been together for 20 years. They're buying a Spanish property. If they wish to pass on their assets with minimum inheritance tax, the best advice is to get married. I know it's not for everyone. We've talked about Spanish passports with some of our clients. And if you're going to take out a Spanish passport, then obviously, it's a big move, giving up your British passport. If you hand over your British passport and take a Spanish passport out, bear in mind that you can't have both passports. And that under the rules and regulations, that the passport of where you live is what are the laws that apply to you. So again, on the inheritance tax side, if you pass away, then 2/3 of your assets have to go to your children. And that might not be what you want. So if you are considering changing your passport, think carefully about doing that before you hand it over. New arrivals, I had a very good conversation with Hugh about new arrivals. We're acting for British clients coming to Spain, and they'll be, I thought after the referendum result, the flow of people coming would slow down. We're probably seeing less people, but they're still, regardless of what happens, and my parents moved out to Spain in 1981 when Spain wasn't a member of the EU, British people will continue, in my opinion, to come to Spain. 18 million of us visited Spain last year, followed by the French at 9 million, so it's the most popular country that we Brits visit. Will the requirements be the same for new arrivals? I sincerely hope so. That will be the case during the transition period, and we hope that will be the case, Hugh, after the transition period. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. I believe you've missed your vocation. You didn't just take up the 5 minutes that we gained, your 10 minutes, but another 5 minutes. You should have been in this side of the panel in politics.
You're welcome, by the way.
Anyway, moving on, Joni Burnett, Illustrious College of Administrators in Malaga. Thank you, Alex.
Now, I was going to ask you how much you charge for divorces. Mine hasn't been cheap. Well, I'm a chartered community administrator, and I've lived here since I was 3.5 years old. So I always say I've got the best of both worlds. But now I'm not able to vote in either of the general elections in the UK or Spain. And so I've got the worst of both worlds because my voice doesn't matter for those big things. So if there is another referendum, maybe we should just all fly back to the UK, move into someone's house and register to vote and make sure we do have a say. Maybe I shouldn't have said that out loud and just thought it. Anyway, as a professional living in Spain, there's lots of Brits who have companies here who employ not only other foreigners but also a large amount of Spanish workforce. So we are important for our local, regional and national economy at the end of the day. So it is in the interest from our point of view as professionals for solutions to be sought so that we can carry on working and running our companies and carry on employing, carrying on producing, well, what we've called producing richness in Spain, so that we can carry on contributing to the economy. It is vital for everyone, not only talking about the people who work on GIB, because that does affect our local economy considerably in a very positive way, but all over Spain you'll find Brits who own and run companies throughout the country and the rest of Europe. So it is important for those agreements to be reached so that we can carry on employing and contributing. Now, as a chartered community administrator, what we do is we look after your properties, but we look after it from a more direct point of view. So we look after the communities where you live, both if you're young families who are working and contributing, if you have purchased as an investment to retire in the future, or if you have already retired. So we do have the direct knowledge of how these things affect you. At the beginning, the first scare after the Brexit referendum, we did think that there was going to be masses of Brits, especially the Brits who had retired here, who would move back to the UK. But that didn't happen. It was actually a much smaller percentage than what we had expected. It was more those retirees who were in favour of Brexit were choosing to return to the UK mostly. People who have chosen to live in Spain, and that Spain is going to be your home as it is mine, are more worried about being able to continue living here as we did before the referendum. Now, for those of us like Alex and me who both moved here before Spain was even part of the EU, we know that that is possible. Now, things will change, things will be more difficult, but at the end of the day, if we have the information, we will know what we can do to make our lives easier. So information is very valuable at the end of the day, and it will be what helps us survive this current situation. It's the fear of the unknown, it's the waiting game, it's now we're waiting for another election, now we're waiting for another final date, and will that move or won't it? There's so many mixed feelings, and the more time goes by, the more difficult that will be. What is reassuring, however, is that we haven't found that less Brits are buying properties in Spain. As I said at the beginning, maybe that the speed of the purchases was reduced, but there are still lots of Brits who are purchasing properties in Spain, looking to invest or looking to live here permanently. So that's good, because it means everyone does still have a little bit of faith in the system, and that we will find ways of solving it. Now, one thing that is very important, now at the last seminar that we were part of the panel of, we said how important it was for everyone to register in the properties that they live in Spain, so that you are part of the system in Spain, and that is still vital. But most of you already have. The people who have asked us for proof or certificates that they live in a property, in a community that we manage, that has increased over the last 6 months. So we know there are more Brits who are actually registering and becoming part of the system, and not scared of becoming part of the system. Now, the language barrier is a worry, but just find someone to help you translate. It does work. It's a different system to the UK, but it does still work, even if it has those differences. Now, for those of you who have properties as investments, or have friends who have a property as an investment in Spain and rent it out, there has been new legislation introduced over the past couple of years, but specifically this year, for those properties that are rented out as tourist properties. Take into account that you do need to register those properties in Spain, and that the Spanish government is doing checks on your online websites like your Airbnb and etc., so that everyone has to register as part of the compliance to the Spanish legislation. And as a positive and a negative, communities can now increase fees of those properties that are being rented as tourist rentals by up to 20%. This is good for owners who live here permanently, because we've had endless complaints about the tourists that come in and don't respect the place where they live, but it does make it slightly harder for the foreigners who have purchased those properties as a rental so that they cover their own costs and can move out here when they retire eventually. But on the upside, the exchange rate is going up, so hopefully that increase in community fees will be covered by the increase in the exchange rate, because we'll be having more money to spend in Spain. So at the end of the day, look for a professional. If you have any questions, you've got everyone on the panel here, but there's lots of professionals in the area where we live who will all be able to help you with any questions that you have. As I said, it's different, but the system does work and will work if we all want to become part of it and help it roll along.
Thank you, Journey. We can tell you're not a lawyer or politician. Now moving along to our shared sponsor of the evening, the representative from Ola Bank, La Caixa.
Marina. Let's leave Marina.
Yeah, and I don't stand a chance with a surname, so thank you very much, Joni.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. I'm very happy to stay here and support this 5th Manilva Brexit seminar. It's a pleasure for us, of course, because the big part of our clients, and especially in Costa del Sol, they are British, so we are very close to British community. So I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Marina Yatsenyuk. I'm my origin from Ukraine, but I'm here for 20 years already. And I'm in charge of Ola Bank department within CaixaBank. Ola Bank, it's a brand, it's a department for international clients, resident or non-resident, where we have special products, special account, services and whatnot. So Ola Bank been created in 2015 when La Caixa realized that we have a lot of foreign clients and we have to put it in order somehow. So it's been created Ola Bank Living account, Living Solution account, where our clients could find financial and non-financial advantages. Among non-financial, it's very helpful and very interesting because you have from services for your home, then you have, sorry, I just, to do it in short, services for your family, everyday administration support, and leisure service. So then, of course, among different health insurances, what type of insurances you want, it's very easy to open an account with us, especially for people, retired people, for example, that it's only with your passport, your NIE number, and your tax identification number if you are a resident in Great Britain. So our doors are open. We have more than 50 branches along Costa del Sol. Here is Manilva, one of our branches. It's Ola Bank branch, where our colleague speaks different languages and among them English, of course. They have a lot of experience to attend English people, and they are very happy to open an account for them. So, and as one said, the passion of British travelers starts since 1962 with the first flight from London. So we have that this passion will never stop, and we still will have English travelers and English clients as well in our bank. So thank you very much.
Well, we've done really well. We've gained back a load of time for all of those questions. So we've got one already. No, but it's for everybody else. I know you don't need it. Don't worry. You can almost whisper into this.
Yeah, my name's Helen Woodrow, and I live in Manilva, and this will be my 15th year in Manilva. So, along with Alex and Joni, I join the great disenfranchised group, and Dean, and probably a lot of others of you here this evening. This isn't a question necessarily, but it's a plea to our new ambassador. I was fortunate to be here when your predecessor, Simon Manley, was here last time, and he informed us that there was a bill going through Parliament which was supposed to go through on March the 22nd, and it was having its third reading to abolish the 15-year rule. Now, unfortunately, for reasons best known to himself, Mr. Philip Davies, MP for Shipley, decided to filibuster this bill. Now, for those of you who don't know what filibustering means, basically the guy yapped for over an hour, which meant that there was no summing up at the end, and therefore no vote. Mr. Davies is quite notorious for filibustering various private members' bills through Parliament, and basically what I would like to say to Mr. Hugh Elliott is, if he has got the ear of some of the MPs back in England, if this could be presented as a government bill and not a private members' bill, we stand more chance of getting it through, because Philip Davies filibustered it on the premise that it was a private members' bill. And the people here, what you need to do as well, you need, even though you've been here for a lot of years, if you contact the MP where you were registered last to vote back in the UK, like I've done with mine, and ask them if they can support a government bill to get us the vote, because nobody knows what's going to happen after the election. We might be in the realms of another referendum, in which case we need a voice.
I can see you all jumping up. There we go, the back of the room there. Yes, sorry, very sorry.
So I could just give it, I think whether it's a question or a plea, I'm very happy to answer. So you're quite right in the way you described it. I think it was at report stage, technically it was the bit before third reading that it was talked out. Obviously this depends on what the government is after the 12th of December. I think my understanding is that the Conservative Party has said that it does remain committed to abolishing the 15-year rule. I think that is the position. You'll be able to check for sure online, I'm sure, but it hasn't actually yet described precisely the means in which it intends to do that. I can say that this is something which is well understood. I think one of the things that the consultation, the process, and all the conversations we've been having with people like yourselves. I have two sisters in the same position, as it happens. There's quite an echo. It's a voice which is now much louder in the British political system, perhaps, than it was. So I offer that as a sort of a slight hope from your perspective. But this will be a political decision after the election as to how it's precisely taken forward. Fully understood, and it is something that we regularly report back as a major concern when we are reporting back into the sort of central government, explaining what people's views are here. And I'll continue to do that. Yes, sorry, I should just say that's a good point. For those of you who, thank you very much, Anne. For those of you who do have, are still able to vote, then you are not out of time to do so, to register to vote. I mean, I've just arrived in Spain. I just did that online as I came down in the train this morning. The system is very user-friendly to vote by. At this stage, probably proxy is the safest thing to do, and you're not completely out of time to vote, to get a postal vote, but it's getting very tight for that. You're not out of time to vote by proxy. It's a very simple online system, so please, yes, quite right, I encourage you to exercise your right to vote.
Okay, could you please pass the mic to Brian, please?
Hello, my name's Brian Forgate. I've lived in Manilva for nearly 5 years now. This is actually a couple of points and one question, if you don't mind. To the lady here, you stated that the pound's going to go up. I was wondering if you could actually tell us exactly how much and when. I'd love to know that one. Nobody knows. The gentleman from San Roque, I'm an immigrant. I have no idea what an expat is, and I think we really should all stop using that. It's derogatory at best to other people who've moved here. We're all immigrants, and I think really we should start using that as a term. We should embrace it. That's just my own thoughts. Now, the Ambassador, a little question with regards to the withdrawal agreement. You stated that as of the end of next year, the 2020, that give me a second, I'm not very good at doing this. There is an agreement that there is a transition period. Now, what you didn't state was that irrespective of who wins the election, if this transition period goes through, as both sides have said they would do, if no agreement is reached by the end of 2020, the UK will still drop out without an agreement. And if we do drop out without an agreement, how does that affect people's pensions? How does that affect the healthcare? The Spanish government have said they will give a maximum of 6 months afterwards. I think these are concerns that really should be pointed out a hell of a lot, that if no agreement is reached, we are going to hit a brick wall, and a lot of people here who are retired are going to be looking at very expensive healthcare. And I think the British government, irrespective of who wins or who doesn't win, I think the British government should be pointing that out and pointing that out now so that people can start to make plans and not just be saying, unfortunately, like your predecessor says to me on his last 2 visits, it's all going to be fine, no problems. Because let's be honest about it, without getting into the politics, that lot in Westminster would find it very difficult to find their rear end with a map in both hands. So I think you should be a little bit more upfront about what the bad possibilities, and God forbid that it happens, but if you say this is a possibility, then people might be able to start making some sort of plans and looking at their lives a little bit long term, other than just a few months down the road. Okay?
Thanks very much, Brian. I mean, I've been, so thank you very much. I've been following this in different jobs since, well, before the referendum, and I've been following the detail a lot. And it is, I think, one of the things that we all find, even those of us who work with it very closely, is that it's quite hard to follow all the different twists and turns and completely understand that. But what I'd like to do is to clarify a couple of things. Because what you've said isn't quite right. Which is absolutely fine. I completely understand that, and this is why I say it's difficult to follow. And so and what I have to say will be, I hope, reassuring to you. Up to now, what we have been talking about is, will there be a deal or won't there be a deal? So when we have been talking about a no-deal scenario, that is a scenario in which there is no withdrawal agreement. Now, I appreciate this is sort of slightly complicated, but we are, if a Conservative government is elected, it is said that it will ratify the withdrawal agreement that it negotiated. So that would lead to a transition period, at the end of which, you are quite right, there would be consequences if there were not a deal then. But if I may say, the no-deal scenario at the end of a transition period is not the same as a no-deal scenario in the way we have been describing it to date. Because the deal that has been agreed in principle with the EU, if ratified, protects your rights. And they would remain protected even in the event that we did not reach an agreement on our future economic relationship with the European Union, because they would be crystallized in law through that withdrawal agreement itself. So when that is ratified, and we're talking about a scenario, I'm just talking about the scenario you described, Brian. So in that scenario, if that withdrawal agreement is ratified, then we go into a transition period. Anybody who is resident in the EU before the end of the transition period, their rights are fully protected, irrespective of whether we subsequently negotiate that economic deal or not. That's a really important thing to understand. And it's going to be I appreciate it's confusing. It's going to be confusing because I suspect there'll be a lot of...
So can I just add, so you're actually saying paragraph 3 of Article 50 would not apply
then? Could you be a bit more specific, sorry? Yes. So in the scenario in which you're describing, in which the withdrawal agreement negotiated by the current government is ratified by the UK Parliament and the EP Parliament and thus comes into force, then absolutely, yes, what has been agreed and that withdrawal agreement becomes law. And the provisions of that withdrawal agreement, that is the agreement that has been negotiated under the terms of Article 50. It becomes law. That agreement does protect citizens' rights. If you are resident in the EU before the end of the transition period, your rights remain protected. Now, so that's good news. In short, it will be confusing because people will start talking about no deal again, I'm sure, in this scenario. But the no deal at the end of a transition period is a completely different sort of no deal from your perspective. It's not, because the citizens' rights part of the agreement would in this scenario have been fixed. Okay, I mean, Alex here may want to say something, but to either correct me or confirm that I'm saying I'm not leading up the garden path.
At no time has anybody from anywhere in Europe from London explained that to me.
Yeah, completely understandable. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
I think, all I would add really is that Spain introduced a royal decree on the 1st of March, and that has a transition period there in the event of a no deal. And that provides protection to existing rights of British citizens living in Spain until December 2020. And if there is a withdrawal agreement and that gets ratified and approved in the UK, then yeah, the transition period will run concurrently.
So that's not quite, if I may, that's not quite right, Alex, again, sorry. So this is that the royal decree the Spanish passed was a royal decree that comes into force only in the event that we leave without a deal. And the transition period that it has is 21 months from the date of that possible departure without a deal. So you are right in the core thing, which is that even in a no deal for the period for 21 months, rights would be protected, but you're talking about two mutually incompatible scenarios. So they wouldn't run in parallel. It's either a no deal scenario or a deal scenario, and rights are protected in different ways in those different scenarios.
And Hugh, what Brian is talking about after 2020 is in effect a trade agreement which is yet to be negotiated. But that is a trade agreement, and that won't cover citizens' rights, because citizens' rights have already been covered.
It won't cover. And again, apologies for, I don't want to be absolutely definitive and sharp-edged in my replies to some of this because it's complicated around the edges. I don't want to pretend something's simple when it's not. There are elements of citizens' rights which may be subject to a future negotiation. For example, what happens to people who arrive in the EU, move between the UK and the EU, or the EU and the UK after the end of a transition period. So there will be some issues which will be subject to subsequent negotiation, but fundamentally, you're right, for those who are currently resident, you here currently resident in Spain, or Spaniards resident in the UK. And we've got a lot of Spaniards resident in the UK as well, who we as a government are very keen to take care of as well. I make this point for our Spanish colleagues as a very important point too. Then you are under a deal scenario protected in the way I have described. I completely agree with you on that, Brian. I completely agree with you. The contribution that EU citizens make in the UK is incredibly important. That is precisely why the government has said repeatedly that it wants EU citizens to stay and has put in place the settlement scheme in order to allow that to happen. I do not have the very latest figures most up to date, but I can tell you that of the approximately 3+ million Europeans who are in the UK, I think, I was looking at Charmaine to see if we've got any sort of latest figures, but something like 1.8 million have already applied and 1.5 million have already been approved, and only 2, at the last time I checked the numbers, only 2 had been turned down, and it is genuinely a very quick and easy process, and there is a presumption of that it will be accepted. It's not to say this isn't incredibly, I mean, I think your underlying point is this is still something people never expected they would ever have to do. They never thought they would have to sort of go online and sort of change from their point of view, sort of change their status or confirm their status. That wasn't the basis on which they moved. It wasn't the basis on which many people moved into Spain. I completely get that that's not what people sort of thought they were signing up to. But in terms, I'm afraid I don't agree with the fact that we've made it really hard. I think we've made it actually as easy as we possibly can. We've given full protection to EU citizens in the UK for precisely the reasons I say. And actually, people, and I talk to a lot of EU citizens and a lot of embassies, I have done in my previous jobs, worked with embassies, giving a lot of communication to EU citizens to help them understand the scheme. It's working, frankly, for a government-run scheme, is working brilliantly, is working better than any other one I've ever seen.
Any more questions? Did you get that? Yeah. Where's the band on? Put the water on it.
Good evening. Unfortunately, I missed the first part, and I apologise for that. But has there been any discussion about the double taxation treaty between Britain and Spain in the various scenarios where Brits at the moment are allowed to deduct the tax that they've already paid, often called withholding tax, in the UK from their Spanish tax bill? I don't know if there's anybody here qualified to answer that question.
I mean, I'm a lawyer, and in the office we do have accountants, and at the moment, basically the double tax treaty, as far as I'm aware, that wouldn't be affected, Hugh, because it's a direct treaty between the UK and Spain. So as far as we're aware, all those deductions would continue. The only change that would happen is the non-residence income tax, which the rate, if it's not covered off by the withdrawal agreement, the current rate, if you're a non-resident, so you spend less than 6 months in Spain, you have to present your non-residence income tax return at the end of the year after you've purchased. The applicable rate is 19%. For third party, for non-Europeans, it's 24%, and you can't deduct items. So if you rented your property out, the cost of those rentals aren't deductible, and you'd still pay the 24%. But hopefully that's something that maybe might find its way into the withdrawal agreement, or any agreement to come out soon. Hugh, I had a kind of comment in that the Royal Decree was introduced, the Spanish Royal Decree was introduced really as, which I think is amazing that Spain introduced this, and they also introduced a law to allow British people living in Spain to stand in local elections, and it's 2 laws that they've passed to help British people in this position, which is, I think, an amazing empathy from Spain, and we haven't seen that across Europe. So Spain is, again, bending over backwards to help British people living in Spain and help them to protect those rights. In the event that there was a no deal, so the UK crashed out on the 31st of January next year because an agreement couldn't be reached to extend or to leave, then the Royal Decree would kick in. And the Royal Decree states that so long as the UK reciprocates and provides the same rights that Brits enjoy in Spain to Spanish citizens living in the UK, then those rights would continue. The fact, but the UK hasn't introduced any legislation stating that, whereas Spain has the specific decree. Do you think that the fact that 1.8 million Europeans have applied for settled status would be considered by Spain to be reciprocal?
That's a very good. I'm not touching that button again, by the way. That's a very good question. The answer, first of all, I completely agree with your description of the approach from Spain. I'm going to say it in Spanish, porque creo que es muy importante decir en español que la actitud del gobierno español, de las autoridades españolas, tanto a nivel local, que voy aprendiendo y voy viendo ahora, como a nivel nacional, con la actitud frente al derecho de voto y el Real Decreto para prevenir, para mitigar los impactos de la posibilidad de un escenario, de una salida sin acuerdo, ha sido ejemplar en la Unión Europea. Y lo agradecemos mucho ese sentido de colaboración y sí lo hemos reciprocado. No sé si es un verbo. I'll go back into English here. The question of reciprocity has been raised. It's something I have personally discussed with the Spanish Foreign Minister. It's something which we have had a number of discussions about, because you're right, within the royal decree, and here I'd just say we're talking about that scenario in which we would, if we were to leave without a deal, in other words, if the withdrawal agreement were not ratified by the UK and EU parliaments and no alternative were put in place, in that scenario we would leave without a deal and the royal decree would kick in, and the rights within it would be given, and 2 months afterwards the royal decree requires the Spanish authorities to confirm that the UK authorities have provided reciprocal rights. That confirmation process will have to happen. Am I absolutely confident it will determine that we have provided reciprocal rights? Yes, I am. 100%. We do not have identical systems. For example, your access to healthcare in the UK comes with your residency as an automatic right. The systems are not identical. They're not symmetrical legal systems. So in the Spanish system, it is important to pass a law to give that guarantee. It's not the same in the UK. So we've had discussions about how to give the best possible political as well as legal signals that that Spanish rights have been guaranteed to a reciprocal way. We've had clear political assurances that that's the case, and we are looking at one or two specific areas where we can maybe give even greater clarity in writing to avoid any possible doubt that that's the case. For example, around possible memorandum of understanding on healthcare. But I would say that absolutely 100% confident. It's a really good and important question, and I'm very confident about that. From the beginning, the will of the two governments to make sure that citizens' rights are protected, it hasn't felt like that, I know, but has been very strong, and we'll make sure that in that scenario, people's rights are properly protected, and the UK will provide reciprocity, yes. And will be judged to have provided reciprocity.
Thank you.
Time has run out, but would anybody else like to ask a final question?
Good evening. Very quick question. When we were here last time with Simon Manley, he categorically said there'd be no chance of the pensions, that the pensions would not increase as in the UK. In the media recently, there's talk of the pensions being frozen. Now, I'm a long way off being a pensioner, I'm still working, but there are many people here that would be affected, and it will affect me at some stage in the future. Is that true? Are the pensions going to be protected for those of us that live in Spain? That's the UK pensions, the old age pension I'm talking about, not the private pensions. Thank you.
Thanks very much for the question. I don't know, I wasn't here. What I can say is that the government has announced that pensions would continue to be uprated until 2023. That's the public announcement that has been made. That does not mean only until 2023. It means until 2023, and a decision has not yet been taken on uprating after 2023. That's the fact of the matter. I appreciate, because a lot of people have told me that obviously that's a question of concern. And when the decision was announced to extend the uprating beyond 1 year to the end of 2023, I was fairly new here, and my assumption was that would be seen as inadequate but good news. It was taken by a number of people as being a statement that only until the end of 2023. That's not the case. That is a subsequent decision that will have to be taken. So I can't say that they will continue to be uprated indefinitely. That hasn't been announced. That's not the position of the government. It will be something that the next government a decision the next government will have to take. The position that the current government has been announced, which as announced, is they'll be uprated to the end of 2023. I know it doesn't give you everything, or other people here, exactly what you're wanting. Equally, this is something that we have heard loud and clear from people about how important this is. We will have to see what happens with the next government.
Sorry, I don't know if I missed part of the question, but I think it's worth saying that what Hugh's talking about is in a no-deal scenario, yeah? No, I'm talking in both scenarios. Well, I think in a deal scenario, pensions are tied up. Sorry? What did she say?
She needs to check. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, we'll check. So just to clarify for the room, we will need to check and come back to you to be 100% certain. I don't want to give any misinformation. Charmaine was saying this is the situation, our understanding this was a situation in a no-deal scenario, and that in a deal scenario, uprating is guaranteed. I need to sort of double-check that, and we will do so, and we will make sure we give that information to you, and we can probably do that very quickly even now. Yeah.
Sorry. Let me just pass you so everybody can hear.
Just a quick question on that as to why has it been brought into Brexit? Why is it seen as a downfall of Brexit that the British pensions will not be uprated? Surely it has nothing to do with the EU.
So that's a perfectly fair question. And the answer technically is that it is a decision that the government will have to. It's to do with the EU, because in the event for when we leave the EU, the automatic rules that apply under our EU membership of mutual uprating cease to apply. So there is a legal change in status with our departure, and so the government has to take a decision about what happens after our departure. That's right.
Sorry, just for those present, the First Lady to speak at the front was Charmaine, our British consul, and that was Anne Anandith from Brexpat Spain. Did you want?
So with thanks to Debbie, my colleague over there, what I said about pension uprating applies in both deal or no deal. In other words, until the end of 2023, March 2023, the end of the financial year 22-23, pensions will continue to be uprated. After that, the decision has not been taken, whatever the scenario of our departure. So that is something in which it will be really important to make your views clear to the, and through us and through whatever ways you want, to whatever government is in place after the 12th of December.
Okay. If everybody is satisfied and has no more questions, can squeeze one more in if anybody does have one. Yep. No? Right. I'd like to ask the panel to please remain on the table while we take, if you like, a family picture. While I'd like to invite everybody here, everybody that's come along today, to a glass of Manilva wine at the back and a taste of ham and cheese. And I hope this has been a useful seminar for you yet again. And we'll try and carry on doing these in the future. If there's any other question that you have, please, you can make that question either to the event that was created on Facebook, and I will get those answers back to you. I will contact directly with Charmaine in the consulate in Malaga and get those questions answered for you. Alternatively, you can actually contact the consulate directly, obviously, but whichever is easy or easier for any of you, you know, you can use the Ayuntamiento or myself as a vessel. Okay, so please go and enjoy a glass of Manilva wine and some jamon and cheese while we just take a couple of final family pictures. And again, thank you for coming. Oh.